Hi, everyone. I'm Frankie, and this is Surya, Hunter, and Alan. We're from Choral Pride at Sasset High School, and we're just going to be singing a couple songs for you today. We're going to start off with Under the Boardwalk. Thank you. One, two, three. Bum, ba-dum, bum, 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 ba-dum, bum, bum. Bum,
oh, when the sun beats down
ba-dum,
and brings a tar up
bum,
on the roof,
bum, bum, bum,
and your shoes get so hot you wish your tired feet were fireproof. Under the boardwalk, down by the sea, yeah, on a blanket with my baby is where I'll be.
Under the boardwalk,
Out of the sun,
boardwalk,
we'll be having some
the
fun.
boardwalk,
People walking
the
above,
boardwalk,
we'll be falling in love under the boardwalk. Boardwalk.
bottom,
When at the park you hear the happy sound of a carousel. You can almost taste the hot dogs and french fries they sell. Under the boardwalk, down by the sea, yeah. On a blanket with my baby is where I'll be.
Under the boardwalk,
Out of the sun,
the boardwalk,
we'll be having some
the
fun.
boardwalk,
People walking
the
above,
boardwalk,
we'll be falling in love under the boardwalk. Boardwalk. Goodbye, my Coney Island baby. Farewell, my own true love, true love.
my honey,
I'm gonna go away and leave you, never to see you any.
never gonna see you any.
I'm gonna sail upon that ferry boat, never to return again. So goodbye,
Farewell.
so long forever.
Bum bum.
Goodbye, my Coney Island. Goodbye, my Coney Island. Goodbye, my Coney Island. We all fall for some girl that dresses neat, some girl that's got big feet. We meet her on the street, and we'll join the army of married fools to the altar. When it's over, oh boy, we get it good. Bachelor days we then recall. Rich man, poor man, beggar man, thief, doctor, lawyer, merchant, chief. We all are bound for. Goodbye, my Coney Island baby. Farewell, my own true love, true love. I'm gonna go away and leave you, never to see you any.
Never gonna see you any.
I'm gonna sail upon that ferry boat, never to return again. So goodbye.
Farewell.
Arrivederci. Bum bum.
Goodbye, my Coney Island. Goodbye, my Coney Island. Goodbye, my Coney Island.
Bye, my
Babe. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much. That was our Choral Pride Quartet. Performing was tenor Alan Huang, lead Hunter Cohen, bass Frankie Gambino, and baritone Surya Raghav. Thank you so much. That was wonderful. Okay, before we begin our meeting, I'd like to call up H.B. Thompson Middle School Student Council members for their report. Jenna Lee in 6th grade and Shri Shugan Sreganesh, 8th grade.
Good evening, Ms. Frankel, members of the Board of Education, and Dr. Rogers. It is my pleasure to introduce Sugan Sriganish, grade 8, and Gina Lee, grade 6, to provide an update on many of the good things which have been happening at HBT this winter and spring. Both Sugan and Gina are fantastic students who are admired by their classmates and teachers. Their report will show that with the guidance and support of club advisors, students have made notable accomplishments and have had a positive impact in the school and community.
Good evening, members of the Board of Education and members of the administration. We are happy to present to you this evening. My name is Sugan Sriganish.
And my name is Gina Lee, and we are students at Harry B. Thompson Middle School. Tonight, we are here to tell you about all the great things the student and staff of HBT have been doing since November. We are so lucky at HBT to have so many wonderful clubs to be a part of. Our clubs were very busy the second half of the year.
Our Student Activity Club hosted a holiday movie before the break in December, and we have had several fun bingo afternoons every month since. This is a free event, and the students of HBT are loving it. We have also been continuing with our Fun Friday theme days. Students and staff alike are loving the themes, such as Twin Day, Syosset Pride, Animal Day, and more. The Student Activity Club also partnered with a high school student government to collect many needed items for Ukraine. It was a tremendous success. Student Activity Club will be partnering with our Serendipity Club for some courtyard beautification next week.
The HBT Wellness Club has gotten off to a great first year. Meetings often begin with a self-care activity for the members. They have been busy participating in creating and displaying decoration for PS I Love You Day and brainstorming and creating advisory activity for Wellness Week. Wellness Club also made a peer pressure advisory activity for Alcohol Awareness Month, and they'll be collecting used sneakers for the Turtle Rescue of the Hamptons to be repurposed into playground and track surfaces. HBT enjoyed our Animal Wellness Week in March, where we watched meditation videos and advisory, painted inspirational rocks, and enjoyed yoga and Zumba at lunch.
The HBT Women in Leadership Club members collected donations for the charity Dress for Success, a global not-for-profit organization that empowers women to achieve economic independence by providing a network of support and professional attire to help women thrive in work and life. The organization was thrilled with the club's donating efforts. Club members created a PSA to raise awareness about Equal Pay Day and had the whole school participate in a corresponding Kahoot competition. We are currently working with high school students in the Women in Business Club to conduct a Club Shark Tank competition where girls will be working in teams to invent, design, market, and pitch original products and services.
Our school newspaper, the HBT Herald, published 4 online issues so far. Students have taken ownership of the paper by creating columns that interest them and their peers. Some of our popular columns include The Great Detective's Fashion Mystery, Hair-Raising Hauntings, Entertainment, Creative Writing, Poetry, and Top 5. Our Model UN Club has conducted 2 amazing simulations so far, in which students took on the perspectives of different countries and tackled real-world problems together. We have also been collaborating with the high school. Our Mosaic Club has been analyzing children's books that value diversity and unity and have begun to create activities that could be used in Syosset's elementary schools. Students have also worked on creating resources for HBT's Multicultural Week. Mosaic Club has consistently been a place where students of all backgrounds can come and feel included.
Students in the Competitive Academia Club participated in a Shark Tank competition where they presented inventive product ideas and gave their spirited pitches before guest sharks from the high school. Each of our teams was so creative and so thorough in their marketing research that they were able to win the support of at least one high school shark. Our HBTV production studio was selected to present at the 2022 Asset Technology Conference back in March. Students were so excited to be part of a virtual panel to share all their expertise in the areas of broadcast, video editing, and theater lighting and sound.
The HBT Coding Club allows students to collaborate with one another on coding activities and projects. Some students are assigned mentorship roles in which they share their coding knowledge with other students in small groups. The club also provides competitive opportunities in which students practice coding challenges and try out for Code Conquest teams. This year, we had 2 teams made of 6th to 8th grade students participate in the Kid Oyo Code Conquest Junior Division, and 1 team of 6th grade students who participated in the Kid Oyo Code Conquest Upper Elementary Division on May 6th. Results? We were the top Syosset team and placed 3rd overall. So exciting.
HBT's Drama Club completed 3 outstanding performances of Legally Blonde Jr. the musical in March. It was so great to see our talented classmates shine on the stage. Our talented musicians also represented HBT at NISMA. We had over 250 young musicians combined participate in the NISMA Solo Festival this year. They were adjudicated on instruments which included piano, band, orchestra, and vocal. Way to go! Our vocal jazz group and our jazz band performed at our 6th grade orientation last week as well. It was so nice for parents to be greeted by our talented young musicians. Our chamber orchestra groups have been invited to play at Lincoln Center in June. What an honor!
Just last week, we had the opportunity to experience new cultures and celebrate each other's differences during Multicultural Mosaic Week 2022. We were able to learn and practice in several dances such as West African, Bollywood, Greek, Chinese, and German folk dances. During advisory, students actively were engaged in cultural and social awareness activities. This is always a week that students and staff look forward to every year.
During Math Fair Club, the students are preparing for the Long Island Math Fair. Each student selects a mathematics topic, writes a 5-page research paper, and presents their research using Flipgrid. The judges will review each student's paper and Flipgrid video and award each student either a gold, silver, bronze, or no medal. The students submitted their work for judging, and the results will be announced within a few weeks. HBT will also be honoring our servicemen and servicewomen, veterans, and our country as we celebrate Memorial Day. There will be several activities during the week leading up to break, including a guest speaker.
Our 7th graders have been busy. On Wednesday, March 9th, Officer Turner from the Nassau County Police Department spoke to 7th graders about bullying and cyberbullying prevention and safe social media use. This was the first in-person assembly for 7th grade students, and we appreciate the Syosset Council of PTAs for bringing the opportunity to our attention. Our 7th graders also took part in our first ever book day on Tuesday, April 12th. They met with author Varsha Bajaj, who penned Count Me In. 7th grade students created a great display for our showcase. It looks awesome. They are also looking forward to a 7th grade class trip to the Bronx Zoo in 2 weeks.
Spring sports are underway, and our HBT athletes are loving every minute. Our 8th graders had a ball when we went to Adventureland with Southwoods last week. What a great day. We are looking forward to a social at the North Ritz Club on June 3rd, followed by our moving up ceremony. It is hard to believe that this year is coming to an end. I think it's safe to say that all the students and staff of HBT really came together this year and made the best of a very unique situation. We look forward to moving on to Syosset High School. Thank you and have a great night.
So much for coming here and sharing the student experience with the community. We often have our staff come and highlight each department and what they're doing, but hearing about the student experience from the student themselves, I think, is really rewarding. We really get to see what your perspective is on the things that you're doing. And so thank you so much, and we look forward to having you back. Okay, we will begin the Board of Education meeting. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. For those of you who have the agenda, you'll notice a difference in today's agenda than in earlier meetings, and that is we are having a budget hearing before the regular meeting. So prior to this meeting, in the several months before today, we had budget meetings where different portions of the budget were highlighted. Today, you're going to have the budget that you will be voting on in May presented to you, immediately after which there will be an audience to the public, but specifically for the budget. So when I say we will have audience to the public after Dr. Rufo gives the presentation, if you have questions with respect to the budget, that's your time to ask those questions. If you have questions outside of the budget process, we will hold our regularly scheduled audience to the public at the appropriate time during the meeting. So we'll have two audience to the publics, one for budget only, and then the other as we do in our regular meetings. So with that, Dr. Rufo.
Okay, good evening. Good evening and welcome to the budget hearing for the 22-23 school year. I got it. Thank you. This is our, as Ms. Frankel said, this is our fourth meeting for the 22-23 planning cycle. We started out in February and went through all of the line item detail of the three different components of the budget. We went through several iterations of the tax cap, and last month at the April meeting, the board adopted the budget, and we're going to go through tonight just a very high-level summary. So the 22-23 budget comes with a tax levy increase of 2.36%. Our calculated tax cap was 2.61, so this means we're approximately $525,000 under the tax cap. Our budget-to-budget increase is 4.32, and to the left you can see that the cumulative, the chart to the left shows the tax cap each year, and the calculated cap in the left-hand column, and then the actual tax levy, and you can see that we've been under the cap for most all of those years, and the cumulative total of being under the cap for all those years is about $10.8 million. We are required to report the budget at the budget hearing in the three-part budget format, and we have been presenting the three different components, which are administration, capital, and program, at our previous meetings. The total budget for the 22-23 school year is $257,831,270. The chart at the right shows the proportion that the three components make up of the total budget. And the chart is repeated on this page with the detail for the three different components. Our program component, which is the largest component, represents about 3/4 of the budget and includes all of our instructional codes, which you can see there on the left. The administration, which is on the box on the right, the codes that make up the administrative section, account for about 9.6% of the budget, the smallest proportion of the three components, and the remaining section, which accounts for about 14%, is the capital component, which has our expenses for our custodial, maintenance, security, debt service, as well as our capital projects that we would run through the budget. Although we are under the tax cap by over $500,000, and despite cost pressures that we've had in many areas for the 22-23 budget, the budget continues to support all of the existing programs and services for our students, including our instructional technology. It also supports the expansion of some programs, such as our high school ICT program, our summer school program. We continue to be focused on the mental wellness of our students, and we've hired additional staff over the last couple of years. And the 22-23 budget includes the addition of 1.5 social workers, which will be funded through a grant. The budget supports all of our recent health and safety initiatives. It continues to support our security presence in all of our schools. In terms of enhancing our fiscal stability, we intend to continue to use our reserves. We are using them at a level that's a little bit lower than we have in previous years due to the additional state aid. We're also continuing our investment and the maintenance of our physical plant. And we have some of the projects that were planned for the transfer to capital line, the library renovations at Southwoods, lighting for our turf field, the tennis court renovations at the high school, and then district-wide paving, plumbing, masonry projects. Oops. Just wanted to spend a moment, because there's always sometimes confusion between the budget to budget and then the tax levy, and our top number line is the budget to budget, the actual budget number that I read out, and then that is reduced by all of the different revenue sources that the district uses to come to the tax levy. And this is a graphic that shows the proportion of that, of those revenues. About 83% of our revenues come from the tax levy, followed by state aid this year at 9.95%. That's up from last year when it was 7.9% due to the additional state aid that we talked about. We will continue to use our reserves and our fund balance as we have in the previous years. All of the detailed information on the budget is available on the website. There's the total budget, the breakdown of the individual line items in the function codes, as well as the three-part budget summary. The budget brochure has been mailed to residences. The budget notice, which is the document to the right, is required to go out after the hearing, so that will be going out tomorrow morning. And the school budget vote and election will be held on May 17th.
Thank you, Dr. Rufo. Do any board members have questions for Dr. Rufo about the budget? Okay, so we will now have questions from the community solely about the budget. Later on, we'll have a second audience to the public that is not related to the budget. Any takers?
Do I have 4 minutes? Do I have 4 minutes? Only 4 minutes, okay. What I'd like to address, my name is Kelly Brocky, and what I'd like to address is the question that came up at a candidates meeting was, do you think a $10 million increase in the budget sounds reasonable? That was asked to every single one of our candidates who were running for the school board, and nobody could give us an answer. Nobody, even the people that are sitting on that board. It was so confusing. It was absolutely confusing. We do have a $10 million difference between last year's budget and this year's budget. Is $10 million reasonable? I haven't really heard a good answer from that yet. So what I would like to just, I'm not a mathematician, So just bear with me because this is my simple view of what this looks like. The New York sets its tax cap at 2.61%. That means y'all can't go over that. Y'all can't budget any more money than 2.6% of the budget. I think that's what I'm getting. So what y'all did was you increased the tax levy by 2.36%, which is great because that sounds like you're saving us $225,000. Is that right? Yeah, $225,000. Is that right? 220, anyway, sounds like you're saving us a whole lot of money. And that sounds really good, especially in this thing. This thing came in the mail and you're like, oh, well, we are $225,000 under the cap. That sounds fantastic. But that's just, you're just saving us $225 from what the maximum that the state would even allow you to tax us. So that didn't sound exactly right. And so, so by taxing us, so by taxing us at 2.61%, the school budget is increasing 4.32%. 4.23% sounds like a very small number, but when you actually do the math, that's $10 million. So is that where the $10 million is coming from? Because I'm still confused about all of this. So looking at the budget, it says that we're going to, this is coming from here, it says that we're going to, the proposed budget supports the continuation of all these wonderful things that we said, but it's also going to include social emotional programming that builds a positive and supportive community in each of the schools. It is the first layer of the culture of care. The SIOS multiple tier system of support that interweaves positive behavior support. So there's 4 parts to this: positive behavior support, restorative practices. Don't know what either of those mean, but I do know the other 2: mental health, wellness services, and academic assistance, which I've heard y'all talk about all the time. I've never heard y'all talk about positive behavioral support and restorative practices. I'm not sure what that is. So when you look at the budget, there are 2 things that stand out, is that the budget from 2021 to now went up $16 million. That's 2 school years. $16 million from 2 school years ago, that's a lot of money. And then the budget from last year to this year is going up $10 million. So, but when that all boils down to it, if somebody could just say, hey, we're increasing everyone's taxes here by $5 million, and that's going to come out of all of our property taxes. And to me, that sounds like that's straightforward. You guys are raising your taxes $5 million because we're going to pay for all this stuff. But saying like, oh, but we're really $525K under the budget, that sounds like you guys are saving us money. So another thing that I'd like to say is, after looking at the budget, there are 2 things that stick out. We are doing $3 million for something called General Education Program, $3 million increase from last year to this year, and a $3 million increase in health insurance from this year to last year. So I guess our $5 million tax increase is going to pay for health care, health insurance, and general education programs.
Thank you, Ms. Brockie. Appreciate your time. Are there any other questions from audience to the public with respect to budget only?
Yes, hi, Roger Mummert from Syosset. What is the amount, and perhaps you said it, Roger Mummert, what is the amount of increase in the state contribution to this? Because I think it was mentioned earlier, but could you reiterate how much more money is coming from state because of the money that was provided under the federal allotment and state allotment?
Thank you. Is there anyone else who has questions with respect to budget?
My name is Jason Guo. I'd like to ask 2 questions regarding the budget. Basically, kind of echo what Kelly had said. If we look into the budget, the 2 biggest increasing number is 3 millions of each. Number one is the name of that program from 79 million increased to 82 million. That's by 3 million. And the name of the program is 2110 General Education Program. The other one also have a 3 million increase. I'm trying to find out which one. The other one, 3 million increase, is called 9060 Health Insurance. I would like to hear more details into those two plans and some kind of explanation why there is a big number increase. That's my question. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions with respect to budget? Okay, that ends audience to the public on budget. Dr. Rufo, can you please answer the questions that were asked?
There are a couple of questions, and I'll try to address them all. The first was the question about the budget versus the tax levy. And school districts are required to present both the budget-to-budget increase, which we did, and that was the $10 million number that was referenced, as well as what actually taxpayers will pay, which is the tax levy. So I just wanted to clarify that. There was another question about the increase in 2110, and I went over this back in April when we went over the program section of the budget. And 2110 is the largest function code, if you will, in the district, and that contains all of the expenses for what we call the basic regular educational program. So it is all teacher salaries, all of the supplies that go into the classroom, all of contractual services for students. So the increase in that code is related to several factors. One is related to the significant hiring we did in the current year as a result of increased enrollment, as well as forecasts for next year enrollment in some classes, particularly in the high school. There was also a reference to health insurance, which is a $3 million increase, and we talked about that as well. Each year, we are part of the Empire Plan, which is a New York State plan, and they have had fairly small increases, relatively, over the last couple of years. And we had talked about how over time those increases seemed comparatively small relative to market rates. And we also had talked about the concept that the Empire Plan was using their reserves to suppress rates. And we're concerned that when those reserves ran out, that there would be a significant increase in health insurance premium rates, which happened to occur for 22-23. Now, we have forecasted the rate that they gave us, and our health insurance is known for, we know half the year what it's going to be, and then the other half because they work on a calendar year. So we've included in the budget what we know and then a projection at about the rate that it was this year. So that's addresses both the increase in health insurance and in 2110.
Dr. Rufo, did you address the state increase?
Thank you, Mrs. Frankel. I did not. The state increase, we talked a bit about the state aid, and we had the largest increase overall in foundation aid. And last year, when we did a presentation on the revenue side of the budget, we talked about how our district had received additional state aid and was forecasted over the next 2 years to receive more aid. So, and primarily we are receiving additional aid in foundation aid, which is kind of the largest component of aid that we receive from the state. Some of the aid that we receive is formula driven, like the foundation aid, and some of it is expense driven. Depending on how much you're spending in a specific area, you would get aid based on that. So I would say that overall, compared to this year to next year, we're going to receive an additional $6 million in state aid. And of that, I would say close to 5 is in foundation aid. We're also receiving additional building aid. We have projects that we're doing, construction projects, and then we receive aid on those projects.
So I'll answer the question about restorative practices. About 4 years ago, the school district worked on the code of conduct for student discipline and had a committee of teachers, administrators, parents involved in that work. And the idea was to work on some of the best practices in student discipline, which includes having students take responsibility for their actions and repair the harm that their negative actions may have caused. So at the end of that, the board adopted a revised code of conduct, which is on the website, and we asked parents to put together a plain language code of conduct for parents. We had students work on putting together a plain language code of conduct for students, and we had staff put together a plain language code of conduct for staff, and those are also all on the website. And then lastly, PBIS stands, I apologize for the jargon, stands for Positive Behavior Intervention Services. So when we're dealing with a student in a classroom who might have behavior problems that are due to, say, a disability, what we try to do are create structures and scaffolding that allow the student to improve their behavior, sometimes through incentives, sometimes through consequences. But the idea is that students learn to regulate their own behavior over time and that their behavior improves as a result of that.
I also just want to add that obviously the budget is complicated. I'm a CPA and I struggle with it. So I appreciate you coming and asking questions. Dr. Rufo, can you just explain just a little bit more detail about the ins and outs of the pilots and some of those other items? It's not a straight one-to-one calculation. And also, can you just touch on how the tax levy works, how Nassau County makes the assessment, and we're not directly involved in that. We're just giving it to Nassau County, and Nassau County does the assessment, just so it's clear to everybody.
Okay. I'll start with the... Yep. I could actually... okay. It's okay. I got it. Thank you. Thanks so much. So, just to go over the revenue and the difference between the budget and the tax levy, I'll just spend a little bit more time on that. So that first, that top line is the district's budget. And then we have to reduce, and that's the spending plan. And then from that, we reduce the spending plan by all of the different revenue sources. So one of the largest revenue sources we have is state aid. So we take out, and you can see that's $25.6 million made up of those formulas as well as expense-based aids. We then have local revenue. That 11.7 number is primarily pilots, which are agreements between the county and the Industrial Development Agency, and those are given to encourage businesses to stay in the area, and those are tax breaks that are given. Those properties come off the tax roll, and then the district is given pilot money. Again, the district doesn't control those, but we report it as revenue. We also appropriate some fund balance. So if we have a year that we have a surplus, we will take some of that and put it to support the next year's budget. We also reduce the budget by the amount of restricted reserves. Over the last several years, we have used our reserves that we've saved up over years to be able to bring the budget number down. And so next year, we're using about 4.6 million of those restricted reserves, and those are restricted for specific purposes and specific line items in the budget. We also, this year, have another reduction to our budget on the revenue side to help reduce it in the form of a premium, a return of premium. Last year, we did borrowings for our capital work, and we received very favorable interest rates as well as premiums. And so now we plan to use that to help offset the budget number and bring down the levy. And that, by subtracting all of those other revenue sources, that's how we arrive at the estimated tax levy amount, which is the 2.38. And I think the other question that came, I'll just stay here, that came up that you raised was how the assessments are done, and all the district's role in taxes is essentially setting that tax levy, that one number, and then how that amount, that tax amount, gets distributed among all of the residents in the district is a function of the county through the assessment system.
I would just add one more layer to Dr. Rufo's answer, which is before the levy is apportioned to residential taxpayers, first the county apportions the levy among the 4 classes of the property system, so commercial and utilities, residential are all separate. Then, and the county is the one that determines what proportion goes to which of those classes. And then within the residential class or the commercial class, they further suballocate that levy based on assessments. And assessments of values of property is a process that is wholly controlled and contained within the county.
Okay, next we have approval of minutes for the April 11th, 2022 and April 26th, 2022 meetings. May I have a motion, please? Mr. Greco, seconded by Mr. Rotolo. Are there any questions? All in favor? Opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, Dr. Rufo, please give us the treasurer's report.
Okay, as indicated in the treasurer's report, the cash on hand for the month end March 31st, 2022 was $68,284,308.24. The treasurer's report shows that bank balances for all cash accounts were reconciled to the book balances and were collateralized in accordance with the district's banking agreements and investment policy.
Questions for Dr. Rufo from the board on the treasurer's report? Okay, may I have a motion? Dr. Park, seconded by Ms. Koshia. Any questions? All in favor? Opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, we'll next have the superintendent's report. Dr. Rogers.
Thank you. A fairly brief report this month. One thing I want to celebrate with you, and then I want to update you on a couple of priorities that you've had earlier. The first is the celebration of 112 students being awarded the New York State Seal of Biliteracy. What that is a new graduation credential that New York State created about 4 years ago to recognize students that had done significant work in becoming fluent in a second language. So We have, I think, stunningly good world language programs here in Syosset. And when I arrived in 2014, the board was engaged in a process of studying world languages here. The study that emerged from that had what I thought was a striking data point. Almost 80% of our seniors were still enrolled in a world language. And so when several years later this Seal of Biliteracy opportunity came along, it seemed to me a natural fit for something that we would be able to do very well and that we would have tremendous numbers of students earning the seal. And so this is essentially 1/5 of our graduating class earning this Seal of Biliteracy, including 2 students that got the Seal of Biliteracy in 2 languages. So I think it's a tremendous credit, obviously, to how hard our students have worked, but the quality of the world language instruction that keeps kids interested and engaged all the way through their senior year. We've talked a lot about enrollment and a significant increase in enrollment that we observed last year. I'd also say, just parenthetically, that since 2015, the enrollment here has gone up about 9.7%. So we have managed that enrollment increase within the budgets that we've presented, and as Dr. Rufo said, well under what would have been allowed under the tax cap. So we're managing both of those things simultaneously. But obviously we want to try and predict the future. A lot of the enrollment projecting methodologies, I would say it the other way, I can't imagine that there's any enrollment projecting methodology that included a pandemic. So we have to find a new way of predicting what our enrollment's going to look like for the short-term future and for the long-term future as we think about our facilities. So we're in the process now of trying to re-engage the consultant that did our last set of enrollment projections prior to the pandemic. There's some concern about whether they have the capacity to take on another client, so we're working through that. If they're not able to, we're going to look for a different consultant. We just think it would be more cost-effective to use them to renew their report rather than start from scratch with someone else. And we also talked several months ago about beginning to study changes in start times for schools, and in order to do that, we'll need to use a transportation consultant. You'll see on your agenda this evening that we have engaged the same consultant that we used about 4 years ago when we were working on this last. And again, I think there will be advantages in using an organization that's already worked with us, has a lot of our data, understands our routes and our policies here. I think that will accelerate their ability to be able to study this for us. So we're moving on both of those priorities. Obviously something for you to do tonight, hopefully something else for you to do next month in terms of enrollment.
Thank you. Do any board members have questions for Dr. Rogers about his superintendent's report? Mr. Greco?
I was going to save it until we go to approve the contract with the, not the enrollment, the start time consultant. Did they give you an ETA on when we can expect a report from them?
Yes, and not as quickly as I would have hoped, because they also are experiencing lots of other districts that have the same interest we do. Dr. Rufo has been talking with them directly, and I'm just going to ask her to give us a little bit. Thanks. Yeah, I will let Dr. Rufo.
Yes, they have. They outlined a time frame, but it's a little bit difficult at this point because there's a lot of feedback that they need. There are scenarios, so we're sort of working through a time frame with them. So if assuming that the contract is approved tonight, we can start giving them the data that we have regarding our routes, but we still have a work to do in terms of determining what the parameters of the times and the scheduling is.
Anyone else? Okay, we welcome Michelle Yen for the Citizens Advisory Committee for Finance.
Good evening, board and members of the public. We had our last advisory committee meeting on April 25th. We reviewed the April budget presentation and highlights, and we discussed the tax cap, the estimate of 2.61, and the actual tax levy of 2.36. We talked about the budget-to-budget increase of 4.32. We discussed the increase in foundation aid, that New York State was moving to full funding for that. We talked about some of the revenue increases being offset by expenditure increases, which we talked about again today: health insurance, the teacher's retirement, and the increases for CPI, which is the Consumer Price Index, built into our contracts. We discussed the building aid ratio being at 40.7%, which means that we're going to get that much back on those projects that are approved. And then we discussed a universal pre-K program that's coming up. We discussed the local revenues, specifically the pilots, and the use of our reserves, which we do on a regular basis. We discussed the new union contracts, that there's an increase for the retiree share of the health insurance to help us continue, that the cost is going to go up from 10% to 11% for the employees that are retiring. And that was our last committee meeting of the year. We just mentioned to everybody that the Know Your Candidates was on May 4th, which already happened. And to remind everybody, the budget vote is on May 17th. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. There are no legislative items. We will have our second audience to the public now. As a reminder, you have to be a Syosset School District resident in order to come up. You'll have an initial 4 minutes. If you need extra time after everyone has completed their first question, you may come up a second time. We do not poll the board members, and we also do not talk about specific staff members or students because they have a right to privacy. And with that, please come up for your questions. Last call for audience to the public. Okay, that concludes audience to the public. There's no unfinished business. There are no discussion items this evening. The following is new business. We begin with A items. A1 is the approval of staff changes for certified and civil service staff. May I have a motion, please? Mr. Rotolo, seconded by Ms. Levitan. Are there any questions? All in favor? Opposed? Any abstentions? A2 is the approval of the Assistant Superintendent of Business revised. May I have a motion, please? Ms. Koshia, seconded by Mr. Gershon. Are there any questions? All in favor? Opposed? Any abstentions? A3 is the appointment of the Director of Athletics. May I have a motion, please? Ms. Falco, seconded by Mr. Rotolo. Are there any questions? All in favor? Opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, well, congratulations to Mr. Stuber. Are you here today? We look forward for you making your mark on our athletic department, so good luck to you. You're welcome. A4 is the appointment of the Coordinator of Fine Arts and Performing Arts, K through 12. May I have a motion, please? Ms. Koshia, seconded by Dr. Park. Are there any questions? All in favor? Opposed? Any abstentions? Congratulations to Dr. Hale. Are you here? We are so proud of our Fine and Performing Arts program, and we really look forward to your leadership. You're welcome. Okay, B1 is the approval of recommendations from the Committee on Special Education. May I have a motion, please? Mr. Rotolo, seconded by Ms. Falco. Are there any questions? All in favor? Opposed? Any abstentions? B2 is the approval of recommendations from the Committee on Preschool Education. May I have a motion, please? Ms. Chang, seconded by Ms. Koshia. Are there any questions? All in favor? Opposed? Any abstentions? B3 is the approval of the reorganizational meeting being held Wednesday, July 6th, 2022. May I have a motion, please? Mr. Greco, seconded by Mr. Rotolo. Are there any questions? All in favor? Opposed? Any abstentions? B4 is the approval of the student club charters for 21-22. May I have a motion, please? Dr. Park, seconded by Ms. Chang. Are there any questions? All in favor? Opposed? Any abstentions? B5 is the appointment of individuals to serve as volunteer judges for forensic events. May I have a motion, please, Mr. Greco, seconded by Ms. Falcove. Are there any questions? All in favor? Opposed? Any abstentions? C1 is the acceptance of service contracts. May I have a motion, please? Mr. Greco, seconded by Mr. Rotolo. Are there any questions? All in favor? Opposed? Any abstentions? C2 is the acceptance of special education and or nursing contracts. May I have a motion, please? Ms. Koshia, seconded by Ms. Chang. Are there any questions? All in favor? Opposed? Any abstentions? C3 is the authorization for contracts for federal Part B funds. May I have a motion, please? Mr. Rotolo, seconded by Ms. Levitan. Are there any questions? All in favor? Opposed? Any abstentions? C4 is the award of bids. May I have a motion, please? Ms. Koshia, seconded by Dr. Park. Are there any questions? All in favor? Opposed? Any abstentions? C5 and 6 can be taken together. They are the authorization for deduct change orders for Palace Electrical Contractors. May I have a motion, please? Ms. Falcove, seconded by Ms. Levitan. Are there any questions? All in favor? Opposed? Any abstentions? C7 is the authorization for the acceptance of a donation from General Mills Box Tops for education. May I have a motion, please? Dr. Park, seconded by Ms. Koshia. Are there any questions? All in favor? Opposed? Any abstentions? May I have a motion to adjourn? All right. Thank you, everybody.